And then if you have questions, just type them into the Q&A or the chat. You don't have to wait to the end, but we will address all questions after the presentation is over. So Leonardo.
Thank you very much, Danielle. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here with us. And we expect you to learn a little bit more about Colombia, about this opportunity at Alimentec. I am Leonardo. I am a trade specialist and COO at River Global. As Danielle has mentioned, we are consultants for SUSTA in South America. And during this webinar, we will have Mark Rosmann, the Agricultural Attaché at the FAS office in Bogota, speak to us about Colombia. There will also be myself and Alejandra Bustos, a trade specialist also at River Global, to speak a little bit about trends in Colombia. And then we'll have Veronica Woods, the International Marketing and Sales Project Manager at Koelnmesse, which is organizing this trade show and the USA Pavilion along with Corferias in Bogota. And to kick off learning, and at the end, we'll have a session for Q&A also. To kick off with Colombia and learning about Colombia, I would like to call our agricultural attaché at the USDA FAS post in Bogota, Mark Rosmann. Mark, thank you very much for being here with us, and I'll leave the stage to you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Leonardo. And I'll just ask, when to change slides when I'm ready. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for your participation for this Tuesday morning to talk a little bit about Colombia and the upcoming Alimentec show. I'll try to be as brief as possible because I know there's a lot of discussion happening today. So we'll go right into Colombia. Next slide, please. Just as a quick, and you can go to the next slide also. So I'm the agriculture attaché, and we have an FAS team here with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And just as a bit of quick background, we're throughout the world. We have 800 staff in FAS, and mostly in Washington, D.C., but we also have nearly 150 foreign service officers serving 96 countries, serving 160 countries, in 96 offices. In this office here, we have a team of 3 American officers and 10 local staff. And we also have a staff in Venezuela also as well. So what we do in Colombia is just a range of different activities. We'll talk a bit about the market development and some of the activities that are relevant to you all, but just for your awareness, we do a lot on trade policy and monitoring and enhancing our free trade agreements. And we do a lot of work in biotechnology, capacity building and development. We have cacao projects that help smallholder producers increase both their yields, their production, but also their export competitiveness so that they can export products like cacao, which the United States doesn't grow, to markets like the United States. We also do fellowship programs that bring leaders, agricultural professors, and then other stakeholders to the United States through partnerships with our U.S. land grant institutions as well. And then also we do reporting. You may have heard of our Global Agriculture Information Network. We do a lot of reporting throughout the world also, but if you aren't aware, the USDA is the global standard for agriculture reporting. And I encourage you to take a look at if you go to the Global Ag or USDA Gain, you'll be able to search for any in every one of our ag trade reports in all the markets that we have that can help you either on exporting to a country, exporting to Colombia, but also like what is the climate situation, what is the crop situation for rice, hypothetically. You can find that information. And then finally, market development. We'll talk a little bit about the trade shows. We have our Support USA program, and then whenever there are stuck shipments, our office is there to assist as well. Next slide. Here's a little bit of our team. So 3 American officers, team of 6, and then the staff that you don't see is our APHIS Animal Plant Health Inspection Service team as well. Next slide. And here's some of our partners. So because of this is such a critical market for the United States, we have significant representation, including SUSTA as one of our key state regional trade groups, but also a lot of our what we call our cooperators, or USDA partners, folks that represent a range of commodities, everything from fruits and vegetables to livestock genetics, to seafood, to our bulk commodities, and our state departments of agriculture as well, all have inputs and have done activities, and we collaborate very closely with them, and especially SUSTA. So next slide. So a little bit about the U.S. agricultural trade to Colombia. We have our free trade agreement that's been in place since 2012. And what that has ultimately led to is that now the United States, as of last year, 2023, is the 6th largest global destination for U.S. agriculture. It is the top South American market. In 2022, Colombia ranked 10th, so we jumped up 4 spots. Some of that, to be honest, there was a bit of a downturn in trade, but Colombia was really stable in terms of its imports of U.S. ag products. And a lot of that had to do with our free trade agreements. And what that has done is eliminated over 80% of our tariff lines, phased out, especially products like corn and soybean meal. And, the United States has a 41% share, market share in 2023 in Colombia. And the rest of the world is about 30%, Brazil 14%, EU has less than 10% market share in that. So the United States has clearly benefited. Next slide. So ag exports to Colombia, if we dive into that a little bit further, the vast majority of them are what we call a bulk commodities. So corn is especially used for animal feed, soybeans, also soybeans and soybean meal as well, a significant portion. Also for mostly supporting the poultry and livestock sectors in Colombia, and wheat as well at 135 million, because wheat is not it's used a lot for human consumption, but Colombia does not grow any wheat. Intermediate, I mentioned soybean meal and other animal feeds, but the big one also has been ethanol, which has really seen a massive uptick in the last couple of years. Colombia grows a lot of sugarcane, and it does produce ethanol, but it exports more sugar than it produces ethanol. So it relies on U.S. products imported for its fuel sector. And then finally, consumer-oriented products, that's of most importance. A lot of that has been meat and dairy and like egg products, but there is significant opportunity for other consumer-oriented products, which we will get into as well. Next slide, please. And not only has the United States benefited, but Colombia as well, because of the free trade agreement. Just to give you a quick breakdown of what that is, in case you weren't aware, 80 to 90% of the flowers that you may see at your local grocery store or flower shop are likely, they're 80 to 90% are from Colombia. The cut flower industry has just seen a significant growth in this period. And because of the free trade agreement, there's infrastructure in place that has really allowed flowers to be available at grocery stores, any part of the United States, and that's been a real success story. Bananas has been another significant export, and of course coffee. That's combined, if you look at green unroasted coffee and as well as roasted coffee, that's the biggest chunk of by value of products going to the United States. And then you have some other products as well, like certain sugars, vegetable oils, pulses. But coffee, bananas, and cut flowers are definitely the biggest commodities to the United States. Next slide. If we look at that, if we dive into this a little bit further, if you look at imports for consumer-oriented products, last year. We mentioned meat, dairy. Dairy powder is a significant product as well, because high quality U.S. dairy products have supported the industry here. Food preparations, so condiments, sauces. You were seeing a significant uptick in trade there as well, because what we can get into is that there's a significant retail sector here in Colombia that has the capacity to bring in products, and there is a significant middle class that can is able to afford these products. So there's really a wide range here, and because some of the market share you might say is kind of small, like $74 million in wine isn't that much. Same with distilled spirits, but really that just shows that there's significant opportunity, because there's a free trade agreement, and there's a process and with limited tariffs, but also the ability to for consumers who have exposure to the United States, and they have either been familiar with certain products, and they would be in high demand if we just get samples and other related products in there. So other products, take a look for, dog and cat food. We'll get into the massive pet food industry that's here. Certain beef products, certain fruits and vegetables, and healthy ingredients, because Colombia, like many parts of the world, has seen a significant uptick in healthy living. Post-pandemic, there's been a push for, emphasis on improved personal health, and that has led to, additional products that are, healthy in nature, that are in high demand. Next slide. So again, continuing with what some of the opportunities are for U.S. exporters. I won't go into this in depth, because Leonardo will talk a little bit about this, but again, there's the free trade agreement, or the CTPA, that's as it stands now. All the remaining tariffs will be phased out by 2030. So price competition will be great. High urbanization, 82% of the population lives in urban areas, with a growing middle class, and that has really increased demand for a lot of different products, including U.S. products, food ingredients, etc. And much like the United States and other parts of the world, e-commerce has really made an impact in terms of the ability to obtain some of these products. There's a photo of a person wearing orange called Rappi. That is one of the primary food delivery services here. They drive around on motorized bicycles in Bogota, and you can just see on a daily basis just how much of an impact that has made on food delivery that's fast, affordable, and has really allowed for high quality food products to be available for folks in place of dining in at restaurants, for example. So River Global will get into a little bit about this as well, about kind of the retailers. Next slide. Constraints also, Leonardo will talk about this. There is significant, I don't want to say significant, but there are challenges. No market is perfect. There are issues on, Colombian peso fluctuation in the economy and inflation. Price sensitivity is a challenge as well. And some of the things that our office works on is emerging nutritional regulations. You see these traffic stop sign warning labels. We'll talk a little bit about that also. High sugar, high sodium, and what that means for your products. And again, also on business relationships, taking time to cultivate. I mean, that can be said for a lot of markets, and Colombia is certainly one of them. So, but yeah, SUSTA will talk a little bit more about that later on. Next slide. Same with our free trade agreement. This is just, again, to kind of put a summary of what Colombia means to the United States for agriculture trade. 1.1 billion over 10 years ago to now 3.7 billion last year, being the sixth largest market. That's clearly been a demonstrative of globalization in some aspects, but also the close Colombian-U.S. ties in trade and food and agriculture. Colombia actually has a net trade or I should say, the United States has a trade deficit in agriculture products with Colombia. So Colombia, by value, has actually exported more to the United States and vice versa. However, we have a much wider, diverse portfolio on ag products, which is why we're talking about how great Colombia is. But there's some things that our office will be working on going forward. The current president, President Petro, has threatened U.S. market access. He's talked about renegotiating the free trade agreement, especially on our larger bulk products like corn, ethanol, et cetera. And that's something that we're going to be, continuing to look out for. This doesn't impact you all, but just to let you know that, this is a lot of the work that we do here is to ensure that our markets are open for folks such as yourselves. Next slide. Upcoming programs. Yes, so that's the next part. And we'll talk again, Alimentec. We're excited about that. Colombia's largest food show. In 2 years' time, it's going to be a USDA endorsed show for 2026, which we're very excited about. And what that means is that there will be additional funding, additional resources given whenever there's a USDA endorsed show throughout the world, like Gulf Food in Dubai or FHA in Singapore, for example. Those shows, there's a lot of money that gets thrown at them, and there's a huge trade delegation and lots of booths and stands. So that the next time that will happen will be 2026. But for this year, we encourage you to sign up. We will be there to support. Lots of vendors, lots of exhibitors, and it's a really great venue also there in Bogota as well. Next slide. And we also have the other thing of note is that we have an agriculture trade mission coming up as well. This is something that was decided by USDA in Washington, and one of our undersecretaries, Undersecretary Taylor, will likely participate as well. This will be August 12th through the 15th. And it'll be, an emphasis on healthy food products, pet food, wine, spirits, all the consumer-oriented products as well. There actually also will be livestock genetics that will be prioritized as well. But one of the areas of focus is what you see there, exporters who can demonstrate how sustainability can be incorporated into their business models. It's not an absolute requirement, but it's just an area that we want to, a thematic area that we want to prioritize for this trade mission. We had one last in 2019. As you can see there was about 42 companies, 6 state departments of agriculture, 10 cooperators. Hopefully we can get SUSTA support also for this year. And, and we're definitely hoping to achieve this or break this 17 million record from 2019. But that's basically what it'll look like. And we'll set up B2B meetings with Colombian and Venezuelan companies this time. We're very excited. So next slide. Really quick, as part of our program, we have what's called a Southern USA campaign. You may have heard of Sabor earlier. It is our flagship marketing campaign that we use. That kind of everything we do hovers around that. It's both online and through in-person events. Social media has been a key component of this through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, etc. This started, I want to say around 2013, 14, Sabor USA. It started in Colombia, but other posts in Latin America, because Sabor means taste in Spanish. And so think of it as Taste of America. So Colombia started it, and a lot of other Latin American countries have brought this on as well. Other posts like in Asia also have their own Taste of America. So it's the same concept. So everything that we do to promote U.S. products and U.S. agriculture kind of falls under this umbrella. So take a look at our website. We have recipes. We do lots of posts on Instagram, Twitter. We use AI, and we usually work very closely with groups like SUSTA and others on this to promote our U.S. agriculture. Next slide. Really quick, Venezuela also. So our office covers Venezuela. I mentioned Venezuela because we try to tell as many people as possible that you may have been familiar with a lot of the challenges of Venezuela with migration, for instance, and just our general political challenges and the regime that's there. However, it is a market that we ask that you consider and take a look at because contrary to what a lot of people might think, that you can actually do business with Venezuela. The agriculture trade to the country is not bound by sanctions like certain other sectors are. It was actually the 41st largest market in 2023 for certain products like animal feeds, soybean meal, for example. Venezuela is, in fact, the 6th largest market for U.S. soybean meal in the country. There are a lot of challenges for sure. Food insecurity, income disparity is a massive problem, but it is a pretty significant market still, and we're seeing a range of consumer-oriented goods. The economy is improving slightly, and there is a large Venezuela contingency retail. There's modern retail as well, and they want U.S. products. There are strong U.S. ties to Venezuela culturally, and people who are definitely anti-regime, which is the majority of the country. So all that is to say is that if you participate in Alimentec, or if you have market inquiries on Venezuela, depending on your products that you carry, our office is ready to support. We have a team in country in Venezuela that does this work, and if we can just maneuver around the political environment and some of the challenges there with the regime, things will improve. In the meantime, like I said, there's a private sector that wants to work with Venezuela, with U.S. companies, and there are some opportunities that you can see there based on the range of exports. And next slide, and I believe that is the last slide, actually. Yes. So any questions, please contact us at any time, agbogota@usda.gov. Like I said, our office is here to support you. We're here to support SUSTA and all of our trade partners here. And we look forward to seeing you in Colombia very soon, either through Alimentec or just one-on-one. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you for a great presentation. And if anybody here is not following yet Sabor USA, you should do it. Go on Instagram, Sabor_USA, or Facebook, Sabor USA all together. This is a great page to see a great work on how the FAS Post promotes U.S. products. Okay, so let me continue now for Colombia in general, and then I'll speak some words here along with Alejandra, my colleague. And Mark has already mentioned about the opportunities and how trade with the U.S. and Colombia has been growing, and how the free trade agreement has been beneficial to Colombia. I want to show this map in here that shows Colombia into the Western Hemisphere, into the Americas in general. If you look into the map, there's another great advantage of Colombia, that you have ports in both the Atlantic and the Pacific. So it doesn't really matter if you were shipping from the East Coast or the West Coast, you will have ports in Colombia, and it's near to the USA. It's already most of Colombia is already in the Northern Hemisphere. So we have a good advantage of geographical location for Colombia and the US, which also facilitates businesses. There is something I would like to let you know, which is about the regulations towards healthier food. So this has started in many countries around the world, even in South America in general. So it started in South America, in Chile, and then Peru has it, Colombia, Brazil. All of the countries are having what we call the warning or stop signs for high in sugar, high in sodium, and high in fats. Colombia has also 2 other pieces of legislation, one for sodium. And this one for sodium, it's something that you have to take into consideration, because different than the others, that is just a matter of a sign, a labeling, a stickering, or a matter of taxes. The sodium regulations aids a restriction to products that are high in sodium. There is a list of around 60 products that falls into the sodium regulation. Each of them will have a standard in which if your product has more sodium than what is set in there, it cannot be exported to Colombia. It's very easy to find that table and check your products. Mark has mentioned about the gain reports. So it's pretty simple. You can go on Google, you go gain USDA, and then you will find the gain reports page. You go into search and then select Colombia as the post and look for the sodium regulation. The USDA has already translated that table, and it's already in there published. And you can check for your product. We can also send you that that document if you wish. Just send us an email and we can share that with you. But this is something to take to pay attention. If your product is one of the 60 products, and if it has over the limits for Colombian regulations for sodium, it cannot be exported. All of the labeling, taxes, this is all, it's not prohibited. It's just a matter of adding those, okay? We have to take into consideration, Mark has already mentioned about Rappi. E-commerce has been really great in Colombia after pandemic. And this is something that companies would have to pay attention when going into Colombia, digital marketing and supporting your distributors into that. Currency fluctuation is something to consider in negotiations with importers, although there has been a devaluation on the dollar. So Colombian peso getting valued over the dollar. So this is good. 1.5 years ago, Colombian $1 was above 5,000 Colombian pesos. Now it's around 3,900. So it has been better for imports. There are some chains in cold chain logistics in Colombia also to take into considerations, especially coming into Bogota. So Bogota is high in the Andes. So all products by land, they have to go up the hill from the ports into Bogota. However, Colombia has 5 cities that are pretty large, and you have facilitated distribution to those large cities around Colombia, okay? This is a price-sensitive market for most of the population, but we have middle-class, growing young couples or single people households that they have more purchasing power and they are available to purchase more imported products. So this is very good. And Colombia is very welcome to new brands and new products. Colombians also, they like the USA. Those who have the chance to visit the USA, they would like to repeat the good experiences they had in the USA, and they will look for US products. And those are very good opportunities for Colombia. Alejandro will also talk about some of those opportunities in retail and food service, okay? One thing that I would like to mention, it's the newest legislation we have in Colombia for healthier food, okay? So we have the nutritional labeling law, which you see in your screen in there, nothing new, not different than any other country in South America. If you have products high in sugar, high in sodium, and high in fat, there is the sodium regulation, because if it is too high, up to a certain percentage, that cannot be exported to Colombia. And then there is a new one just started with, which is the healthy tax. Colombia approved last year a comprehensive tax reform, okay, for the entire economy. And one of the articles, it's related to a healthy tax on high in sugar beverages and ultra processed foods, also high in sugar. You see the tables in there. What will happen is if your beverage has over 6 grams of added sugar for each 100 milliliters, you will have an additional tax. We're talking about 28 pesos, which is 0.005 cents of dollar. Okay. But that will be added to the product in 2024 and then 38 pesos in 2025. The same if it's over 10 grams, 55 pesos. Now 65 in 2025. Okay, that started last year, end of last year. Same as ultra processed foods. So it depends if it is sodium, sugars, or saturated fats. If it is above limits, you will have a 15% increase in 2024 and 20% increase in 2025. Then I'm advancing already one of the questions that everybody should be making now, which is, will this represent a lower demand, or is this not an opportunity for my product if it is high in sugar and will have those taxes? And this is the $1 million question. It's like, it's very difficult to know from now how population will react into that. We have the experience in Chile, which started in 2016 with the warning signs, the stop signs, which at some point in the beginning, people started noticing the signs, and there was less consumption of those products for a period, but then people just got used to it and kept on consuming indulgence products anyway. So it didn't really change much. What had more impact were the products that were marketed as healthy, but it still had the warning signs, okay? The same as in Colombia. Will people stop eating chocolate because it got 15% more expensive? There might be a reduction in the first place, but not really. And the thing is, this is not only for imported products. Even the domestically produced products in Colombia, they will have the same. So it won't change the competition in between imported and domestic products, because all of those products will have the same taxes. We'll see how it's pretty new. So it has been for 6 months, maybe, or less in force. So we still have to see how that will go in the long term, but people will keep on consuming those. There are some products that are into the processed food that is part of Colombia's culinary tradition, such as sausages or any meats and prepared meats. So this is something that people do it on a daily basis. It's very difficult that it will be that hard of that great of a drop in demand that it wouldn't be an opportunity to export to Colombia. So even if you have those products, you should consider you'll be competing exactly as a local company, and people will still consume those products, as we have seen in other markets in South America. Now, for the good part on what is trending and what is what we see in supermarket, what we see in restaurants, I would like to call Alejandra here to be able to speak to us a little bit about those. Ale, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Leo. Hello all. I'm so happy to be here. Actually, I live here in Bogota, so I will be your spy in terms of trends and what we are looking for and what we are consuming. And also, we have been having this experience with Alimentec for a few editions. So we are very excited to have as many SUSTA companies as possible to get to know the show, get to know our importers. And it's really a great opportunity. As Leo mentioned, we have access not only to Colombian consumers, but this show is also very sought after by neighbor countries and neighbor importers and consumers. So you would be able to reach not only our market, but some other opportunities around Colombia. And what we have been seeing is this healthy trend and this concern about making the diets and the products a little bit healthier. It was actually happening before the pandemic. So we were getting ready for these adjustments and regulations. And when the pandemic happened, of course, we were also like extra convinced about the need of like a little bit of conscious in terms of what we're eating. But regardless of that, we're still consuming everything that is indulgence, that is, alcohol, cocktails, the good food as well as the healthy food. What we have been seeing recently is a predominance of hard discount. We have been seeing new players in the retail market that are ranging within the hard discount segment, which has made the Colombian consumer less loyal to brands and more open to whatever the product can offer, which is great for new imported products. We are mostly interested in the features of the product, if they have nutritional characteristics that can add, or if the flavor is a differential, or whatever that the product itself is offering. When a few years ago, we were always buying the same brands. So this is a great shift in terms of being open to new products. One thing that is interesting for this year specifically is the largest retail chain, which is Grupo Éxito. They have several supermarkets within the group. This company has a new owner, and they are very interested in putting more effort in expanding the categories, expanding the segments, getting closer to a consumer experience that it's elevated. So that's going to also be very interesting for imported products and anything related to something more sophisticated and differential than what we can manufacture locally. Also, we are seeing that the Gen Z consumers are starting to make their own trends. They are part of the labor force now, and we are seeing how this is impacting sustainability, eco-friendly trends, anything related to fair trade and all of those things. So that's something also interesting in terms of what we are communicating to consumers. It would be very important to the storytelling of your product, because now these consumers are more paying attention to that, not only the actual product, but what's happening behind that. So that's something interesting, and we are seeing, like we have been seeing a lot of companies making the effort of explaining the ingredients of the product and the families that are being benefited by those products being sold. That's very emotional and interesting in terms of trends. We'll still have the millennial consumer as the leading driver for anything related to trends. So they're looking for functional, better for you, healthy and organic products. But they're also eating outside a lot. So that has been making the food service segment very active. And we're looking mainly for experiences rather than just the actual plate of food. So that's also very interesting. For instance, as Leo mentioned, the top destination for Colombians outside of Colombia is the U.S. So what we see there, we try to either bring it here or look for it here. So that's something that makes us feel closer to the U.S. trends and the U.S. ways of having food and consume food. The plant-based trend is interesting because it's not diminishing the consumption of animal-based proteins. It's like opening new consumers, new segments, or it's actually making more diverse the consumption for usual meat eaters. So plant-based has not been perceived as a competition rather than an additional option for consumers, both in food service and on the retail segment. So those products that could offer this claim about being plant-based, those would be very interesting as well. And in general, any US product that we can highlight that this is the origin of the product is going to be always perceived as a high quality, very differential, innovative, top quality, safe. So that's something that is, we don't need to explain that. It's automatic for us to understand that if something comes from the US, that's a guarantee of quality. And basically what the retailers are looking for is try to have different products rather than what could be locally sourced or manufactured. Even in the same segments that we have local strong players, I don't know, sauces or condiments, if we can highlight the added value or what makes the product different, that's something of interest for retailers. And even though Alimentec is not related to pet food, it's something that is worth to mention. Everything related to pet care and pet food in Colombia, it's getting bigger and bigger each year. And that's something interesting in terms of how single household families or those families that have no kids, they're investing a lot of money in pet care and in pet food. And that's really interesting because they behave the same with their own decisions of consumption. So you would see here some of the retailers. As you can see, we're very strong in terms of our local companies leading the retail segment. Actually, from the outside, I would say it's only Tienda Zara, which is from Jerónimo Martins from Portugal, and Jumbo, which is from Cencosud from Chile, as well as Metro. And PriceMart, which is the only club store we have here in Colombia. It's a US company and it's a US format. So when you think, for instance, in Mexico, they have a lot of those large clubs, same as in the US. In Colombia is not as common. So these traditional retailers are going to be the way to access to the middle class and upscale consumer in Colombia. Next. And food service is very what we mentioned before. If you see here, the thing that is mostly consumed by Colombians and mainly in the cities, the top cities, it's fast food. We are very traditional in terms of what we cook at home. So when we eat outside, we're looking for something that is different and delicious. And this makes fast food very interesting for consumption in Colombia. So you can see here that fried chicken, hamburgers, any of those options like pizza chains, we love that. And we have a lot of US brands in food service here in Colombia. And even if you are craving pizza, for example, you're not craving pizza in general, you're thinking about that US brand of pizza. So we are very keen into those types of products and having the US as an aspiration in terms of what we think is delicious and is going to be satisfied. So as I mentioned before, the young couples, they have more money, they have better paid jobs. There's a huge trend into not having children, so that means there's a lot of more available income. And we have been seeing that dark kitchens are getting super strong. This is mainly linked to the exponential growth of delivery apps. So after the pandemic, a lot of restaurants, they noticed that they actually didn't need to have the restaurant working only to prepare the food and send it through delivery services like Rappi. So this has been growing a lot. Of course, it's more competitive. This has a lot of these food service companies to invest in better ingredients and better products for their preparations. So cheese from the US, cheese sauce, maybe some specific type of products that are, the quality is going to be better if they invest in imported products. And we can see that happening in the quality of the products that we are consuming. An issue that is interesting is the heavy weight of the informal restaurants. However, they tend to source their products and their whatever ingredient they need, they look for distributors. So it's very common for a distributor to be selling products to like large chains as well as the small informal segment. So even though we have like a huge presence of informal restaurants, the way to access them is the same as if you were selling to a large chain, except for those chains that are big enough to import their own products directly. We have been seeing a lot of new shopping malls. This has been a real estate trend that has, for the last 5 years, we have been seeing so many new shopping malls, and all of those have food courts. So of course that has created more opportunities for new either restaurants or franchises opening outlets in those new venues. So actually like an entertainment activity for people here mainly in Bogota and Medellin is to go out and walk around the shopping mall and just find whatever is you're going to have for your lunch that day. You have 50 different options and you don't even have to think about what you're going to have for lunch, and half of the family can have one thing and the rest is going to have another. And this is new for Colombia. We were very traditional in this aspect, and we are now very modern and very similar to what the US way of consumption looks like. And again, the tourism segment is very dynamic, either through the people that is visiting Colombia and they are, of course, trying our local cuisine, but they also look for some of their products from back home. That is very interesting. So we are seeing more international brands here in Colombia. But also, as I mentioned before, since Colombians are traveling a lot to the US, they try to look for those good experiences they have there. They try to look for them here. And just as additional information, our top hotel chains, if you see, there are some US chains here that are in leading positions. But yes, those are mainly for, I would say, for foreigners or for internal domestic tourism. But those are key players to take into consideration when trying to introduce new products for food service. I would say that's basically it. I think the next one, I think that's it, right, Leo?
Yeah, this is it. Thank
I
you.
think that's
Oh,
very,
the best
oh no,
prospect.
best
Yeah,
prospects.
yeah.
Yeah. This is similar to what Mark already mentioned in his presentation. We included pet food, even though this is not the focus of Alimentec, but just so you know, that is something very, very active here. And you will see here, this is all related to the healthy trend, to the food service dynamic trend. Dairy products are going mainly to food service or to food manufacturing industry here. Cheese, of course, is very, very sought after here for the food service segment. Food preparations, again, food service. We have a lot of bakeries that are looking for either baked goods or products to be baked, or ingredients for that segment. Anything convenient, prepared meats, or even some prepared products ready to consume. Non-alcoholic beverages, that's also something very active here. Processed vegetables, especially canned vegetables and frozen fries or veggie mixes. Those are really interesting here in Colombia for the food service as well. And snacks, anything healthy, anything related to nuts. We have a very dynamic imports of alcoholic beverages. Although those have their specific taxes, we are big on consuming alcoholic beverages. And well, a wide variety of meats, either fresh cuts or mature meats or cold cuts. That's something that is going to be very differential for Colombian consumers. Basically, that's it. Private label, whenever you can either offer the option of private label or ingredients for local manufacturing of private label products, that would be very interesting. That's basically it. So thank you for having me. And Leo, back to you.
Thank you very much, Ale. Thank you for the trends. This list of best prospects, it's what is, Mark has already put most of them. It's already what is being exported to Colombia at the most, but this is not limited to this, okay? If you have other products, you should also consider that. Now, what best way to promote your products than at Alimentec? So we would like to talk a little bit about the show. And for that, I would like to invite someone that has been with Koelnmesse for over 15 years, as I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, Veronica. And she has been doing this show for quite a lot. Maybe some of you already know her, and she will be able to talk to us about Alimentec. So, Veronica Woods, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank SUSTA and also River Global. I'm very happy to have SUSTA on board for Alimentec for the first time. As you heard in, by the previous speakers, Colombia is a really big, good market for U.S. export products. And so I want to tell you a little bit about the show before I do. Most people know us, Koelnmesse, maybe not so much the name Koelnmesse as in Cologne trade shows, but from the Anuga show in Germany. We work with SUSTA on this one. We also have a really nice cooperation with SUSTA and River Global on the Anuga Select Brazil, and now, of course, Alimentec. So Alimentec has been around for about 25 years. The show takes place every 2 years in Colombia. And it's the 12th edition this year. We set out 1 year during the pandemic, as so many shows did, but we're back back. And the last edition was a really solid, a really good edition. Our exhibitors were very happy. I'm happy also to report that US was the strongest international delegation, even compared to other South American countries. And our exhibitors were very successful. Alejandra and Leo may have some stories there to tell you guys, because they worked with a lot of the companies and that had some success already in Colombia. So the show attracts about 25,000 plus trade visitors. That was the results from 2 years ago. Before the pandemic was slightly higher, but I think the one thing that most of our exhibitors pointed out, the quality of buyers was really good. One of the things our exhibitors also loved a lot about the Alimentec show is the atmosphere and besides the quality of the buyer, also the courtesy and how easy it is to do business and talk with people. So one of the things I wanted to point out before I go a little bit further into the show information, Coferias, which is our Colombian partner, is also the expo center, and there is a free trade zone. And the free trade zone, is docked right onto the expo center. And the nice thing about it is, if we just want to import some products for the show, it's really easy to do. And I think that really helps in terms of business. Everybody had mentioned already, we have the bilateral free trade agreement between the US and Colombia. There is also the Pacific Alliance between Peru, Mexico, Chile, and Colombia, which I think has some nice effects on the import of US products and how you potentially can reach different markets. The majority of our visitors are still from Colombia, but as Leonardo had mentioned before, we have visitors from Ecuador, from Peru, from Venezuela, so you won't just be pigeonholed in just Colombia. And of course, if you want to penetrate the Colombian market, Alimentec is an awesome show for you. Maybe to point out a little bit, the show has 2 product pillars. So one is HoReCa, as in, equipment and so on, but they're in a totally separate hall. And the larger part, and also the most attended part, is our food part, with about 3 I mean, the 325 exhibitors are all together, but the majority of exhibitors are in the food and the beverage halls. And yeah, so the diversity of attendees, I think some of our exhibitors pointed out that was very successful. And I've been doing the show since 2016. So Koelnmesse got involved with Coferias in 2016. We started with about 4 or 5 US companies, I think. And now we are over 27 companies. This year, our pavilion will be even a little larger than what you see on the screen currently, the size of that one. So we're very happy about it. If you want to, Leonardo, switch to the next slide, please. So here I wanted to show you a little bit. On the left-hand top side, you see the Alimentec trade show. So the halls in blue are our HoReCa halls. The halls in red are food and beverages, and the orange one, that's the food court. Of course, yes, even at a food show, you get hungry and want to eat. So there are 2 main entrances to the fairgrounds. One is from the left, you see that big left arrow, that is there's a famous arc right there. There also happens to be a supermarket right across from there. I believe it's Olympica. Right? Yeah, thank you, Ali. It's Olympica, so you can even like walk quickly over there and just see one of those supermarkets directly yourself. I think that's always an interesting experience, you know, also from package sizes, to kind of see also how people do shopping. And yeah, so the other entrance, the big entrance, is from the Avenida de Esperanza. It's on the very top. You see this little yellow square. We're in that side of the hall. The pavilion, as you can see, we have quite a few companies already. SUSTA has 5 booths, which we're very happy about, of course. And they have an excellent deal for you guys. They really heavily discounted the show for you. And I think you will find that it's a well worth investment, especially if you already have been eyeing Colombia. And again, the show's only every 2 years, so now is the time. And then, you know, hopefully we'll see you this year. And then when we're USDA indoors in 2026, sorry. It's still a little bit early here on the West Coast, so I think I might need a bit more coffee. But I want to hand it back over to SUSTA. Oh yeah, there's another slide. I'm so sorry. So I was rushing through everything. Here's what you see, what you get with the booth. The top will maybe look a little bit different, but as you can see, it's a high quality booth. You have laminate flooring. You have, each of you will have your own storage. You will have cladded walls. Graphics are included. Oh, maybe one thing that's actually really important for you guys, and I totally did not mention it yet. There is a buyer matchmaking at the show done through our Coferias partner. Of course, going through SUSTA will have their additional meetings and, you know, with their in-country representative, River Global. They have a lot of experience that can set you up with some of the distributors and importers. But in addition, you also have the buyer matchmaking from the trade show. It's several of our exhibitors participated in the meeting or in that format. And I think it worked really well. So you see all of this, what you're getting with the booth. Some of it's standard, as you can tell, you know, table, chairs, shelving. You have graphics, as I mentioned, on the, as you can also see here as an example, counter, the signage, and like I said, the overhead might look a little bit different. But yeah, and then we have a smaller US or pavilion cafe. It's not a huge lounge or anything. It's a smaller cafe with 3 beverages. We usually have snacks that include some healthy snacks. I think healthy is not just important for the buyers, but some of our exhibitors also like to have a variety, not just like the sweet treats. And the other thing I think that's important maybe to mention, you have unlimited buyers invite. So this is something I get asked for some of our shows, if they can invite their own buyers to it, and it's actually for free. And now I'll give it back. I'm so sorry.
Thank you very much, Veronica. Thank you for the great presentation and to showing us about this show. And yes, I agree with, this is the best opportunity for Colombia for sure. And you will have buyers from neighbor countries. We have seen that in the past years. So if you think of getting into South America, not only Colombia, this is a very good first step, and you should take advantage. Next opportunity, it will be in 2 years. So let's take advantage that we'll have this show this year. Thank you very much, Veronica. And now I'll pass the word back to Danielle to speak about how to register.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Leonardo, Veronica, Alejandra, and Mark. That was really informative. And I hope everybody is learning a lot about Colombia and excited about this show. So yes, Leonardo has put up the a suggested itinerary. Leo, I don't know if you want to mention anything about the getting there for anybody who's interested. We were talking earlier just about the
Sure. Yeah, we suggest booth setup one day before the show on June 17th. You can, of course, get into Colombia if you're planning to visit on June 17th in the morning. We suggest arriving one day before, especially if you're not used to high altitudes. Bogota is around 9,000 feet high, so it's good to get there, get used to it, get to know about the city. If you have never been to Colombia, it's the Americans are the top visitors in there. So get to see some of the supermarkets. So it would be a suggestion for those reasons to arrive in there, or June 17th in the morning to be able to set up your booth and start the 4 days of show.
Great. Yeah. And then I'm going to show everybody quickly my screen so that, can you see my screen with the SUSTA website? Okay, great. So for those of you who are new to SUSTA, all of our events, if you're on our website, you just click on the events tab and it will take you here. You'll see these are all of our upcoming events. These, of course, are really soon and the registration is passed, but here you'll see Alimentec. And if you click there, you'll have information about Colombia and the trade show. And then, of course, the participation fee if you're coming with SUSTA. As Veronica mentioned, you know, we really reduce the cost significantly. Again, for those of you who are new to SUSTA, our mission is to help small businesses get into export markets. And so part of that is making sure that it's financially feasible for a small business. So this is a great example of that, you know, for roughly $1,000 to get your booth with the furniture package and even some a reimbursement of up to $500 in shipping your samples. So the one thing I wanted to mention though is our registration deadline is April 17th. So I know we have Easter coming up this weekend for those of you that celebrate, and then kind of after that, you know, we're in April and that will come quickly. So if you're interested, just keep that deadline in mind. And last but not least, if you want to apply for our cost share program, you can apply to get 50% reimbursement of this booth fee. So it would be even, you know, more affordable, but also travel for 2 employees or company representatives. So that would be flights to Colombia, round trip international airfare, lodging for the days of the show, and meals and incidentals per diem. So again, you know, making it even more affordable. And if anybody has questions about that, please reach out to me after the webinar and I'm happy to walk you through that process. I did see that we had a question come in. Oh, wait, sorry, hang on. Before I do that, sorry, guys. I did want to show you one other thing in export education. So, you know, we were just in global events and then I clicked over here. This is where you registered for the webinar. We have a webinar in Africa tomorrow if anybody's interested. But if you would like to meet with Leonardo and his team in a one-on-one Zoom meeting, you can always register here to meet with River Global or any of our consultants. They're all listed here. So I just wanted to put that plug in. Export readiness training was also just posted, and another tools for exporting success webinar. So all of that is under export education. I don't want that to be hidden. Please go there and go there often. And now we will go into our Q&A. And I'm sorry that we're a little over. It's just an exciting market, can we say? Okay, Rob asked, we manufacture 100% bio-based home compostable straws and stirrers with the bans on single-use plastics. Is Colombia a good market for eco-friendly, sustainable products like this?
Yes, this is a very good market. This is something that even Mark has mentioned for their ATM, focusing on sustainability. I'm just not sure if this would be the very best fit of a show. This, for sure, distributors to food service will be there. The retailers will be there. This has to be a product that is competitive in pricing to do well in Colombia. Sustainable, for sure, it's something interesting. Maybe Veronica, I'm not sure if you know if there are similar companies for packaging at Alimentec. Do you have that information?
I can't tell you exactly how many we have in packaging, but yes, there are the halls, the blue halls I pointed out earlier, which is really for the food service and a little bit of retail, which includes packaging as well as, you know, equipment and these kind of things. I can provide a list of that. The one thing about our USA pavilion, we are located within the food and the beverage hall. Now, we can also have companies that have non-food products in there, at least time around. With the USDA endorsement, normally we cannot. I don't know, however, how much SUSTA can support you, because obviously it's an agricultural export facilitator. So I would have to bounce that back. But maybe you also have other products. But in terms of the show itself, I would have to look at it. But we do have a separate section specifically for HoReCa supplies and equipment, which could be a good fit for you. And like I said, I just don't know how much SUSTA can help you out there.
Yes. And well, fun fact, as long as the products are made from agricultural products that, you know, at least 50% are farmed, fished, or forested in the US, then yes. And I believe his products are. So, you know, most people think of us as working with food and beverage products exclusively, but there are some more, you know, outliers that are not in that typical industry category that we can work with. So.
And I believe buyers walk both halls. That at least like buyers for packaging will not just go into the HoReCa halls, but just understand that
Sure.
the food, of course, maybe be a secondary market. But
yeah.
Pointed out, if it is 50, you know, like it's using agriculture products, you never know. We do have some importers who are also exhibiting at the show and in the food and beverage halls. I just think of one of our meat association who have their own pavilions or their own pavilion. They work with a big importer of all kinds of products that also exhibit at the show. Maybe also another plus. And yeah, so as long as you understand, of course, in the catalog, you would be mentioned under all the different product segments that you have, even if you're within the food sector. So it is something that you would have to discuss for yourself. And I think there's another question about plant-based cookies and dessert. And I think maybe Vivo Global can answer the best.
Sure. Yeah, plant-based cookies and desserts, they would Alejandra has already mentioned how they are trending. This is something that we see in South America, trends coming a little bit later than in the US. We know that this has been going on from the US for years, and it has been getting more recently into South America, but definitely plant-based cookies and desserts are trending. And this does not mean, as we've said, that indulgence foods are not. I don't see, as Alejandra mentioned, that plant-based didn't stop animal protein. I don't see a Colombian stop eating chicharrón, or which is the pork belly, or stop eating arequipe, which is the dulce de leche. You see, it's something, it's part of what we consume, right? So, but definitely people are looking for plant-based cookies and desserts. What I would suggest is have a look into, and you have it in the gain reports, if your products are above the limits for sugar and sodium and fat. Because if you are marketing as healthy, plant-based, and they are over into sodium and fats, for example, that could be something that the consumers will be looking, is this healthy or not? Because it will have the stop signs. But definitely, this is a very good
As a non-market
opportunity.
as a non-market expert, I'm just talking about global trends. I think the alternative lifestyle, or rather the as we so many carnivores also eat plant-based, right? So it's really just something I think overall that we mix a lot. We don't have to just stick with one label. I think if your cookies are plant-based and healthy, of course, that would be perfect. In the end, it's always about the taste. So I actually, that's something maybe I should mention, as you guys probably know better. Being at food shows is always good to sample maybe a little bit. And because, after all, it's about the taste. But I think like in so many different places, people look for indulgence, whether it's an indulgence, when an indulgence can even be healthy, then of course it's top, right? So yeah, I think that's something.
Yeah. And there is another thing I would like to add in here. There is a big advantage to participate in this show with SUSTA. You have all of the support, you have very good pricing, and you may be eligible for the 50% cost share. So this is a very good opportunity that it will have in again, it will be only in 2026, even for the if you have the straws, bio-based company that's looking for the sustainable products like that, this is something to pay attention. Although this is not a focused on that kind of product, such as a show called Andina Pack in Colombia, but at least you will have all of the support at this time at Alimentec, and the buyers would visit the entire hall. Yeah.
To say something about Andina Pack, it's also one of the shows that we are involved in. However, Andina Pack is primarily packaging and processing equipment. So it's primarily for the processing. If you go food service, then Alimentec is the definitely the better fit.
Okay. Perfect.
Great.
Is there any other questions?
I don't see anything else. And we are a little bit over time. It's 10:15. So I think why don't we wrap it up? But if anybody has questions afterwards, yes, here.
I've also included my email in there. If somebody has any questions,
Great.
could reach out to me.
Perfect. And I'll send an email out this afternoon once the recording of the webinar is finished processing, and we will post it on the SUSTA website behind the login. So I'll let you know when that's up, as well as the presentation, and I'll send the link to the show as well.
Maybe Danielle, you can include my email just in case there are specific short questions. Of course, I can help you. Any market questions, toss at River Global. They are you experts. So yes, and I do hope we see some of you, and we'll have great business.
Great. Yes. Yep. I'll include everybody's emails on there as well. Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for your time, and thanks everybody who joined us. Sorry we went a little bit over time, but appreciate you being with us.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Right. Bye-bye.